You probably will notice there's one similarity in office, and that is they're all shot in the same place, which is Hong Kong. But how much do you know about this place? Do you know it's actually part of China instead of Japan? Well, that's why today I'm gonna be talking about Hong Kong and like in particular, like the differences between Hong Kong and mainland China that is resulted from the British. Well, a little bit about myself. I'm from Hong Kong. That's why I want to do this like speech, and that's I've been like living in Hong Kong for at least 18 years, and that's why I'll be focusing on like more of the Hong Kong like aspect of it for today. But like, why do you need to know about all this except for the fact that it's an interesting topic? Well, California is like is a multicultural, multiracial society, and I'm sure like you have met Chinese or even people from Hong Kong like me and Kat. Well, I'm sure like this after this speech you will. Well, hopefully it will avoid you from like any embarrassments caused by like misunderstanding or like perceptives. Today I'll be mainly talking about two aspects of the differences, the cultural and the political aspect. Well, but some of you might have asked like, why the British? Why does it have to do about the British? Well, according to the Hong Kong government, the official website of it, Hong Kong is like a special administrative region of the People's Republic of China. Following British rule from 1842 to 1997, China assumed sovereignty under the one country, two systems principle, which basically means that Hong Kong was once ruled by the British. And like when in 1997, when Hong Kong finally was returned to China, we have the agreement of the one country, two system principle, and I'll explain to you more about that later on. Well, it basically leads me to my first point that due to the fact that Hong Kong was ruled by British for decades, they have adapted foreign cultures, and like one of the examples will be all the British features you can see in Hong Kong. Well, according to James Ellsworth, a British travel writer at Troy Media, he had made some observation in Hong Kong. Well, the first point he said was that British streets and places named Legion on Hong Kong Island and in Kowloon, which this is one of the examples like Prince Edward's Road, one of the major roads in Hong Kong is named after the British Prince Edward. Also another observation he made is that in transportation, one can still ride the double-decker buses and they drive on the left or the British side instead, while China is on the right side. Well, moving to the political aspect, well, I've mentioned earlier that like there's this one country, two systems principle. What it means is basically that Hong Kong and mainland China, they have like separate laws and governments, and Hong Kong people have their own authority to like rule the place. And one of the big aspect and like difference you can see is freedom. Well, according to the Hong Kong Basic Law, Hong Kong residents or citizens, they have all this freedom, the freedom of speech, the freedom of press, and etc. But when you look back to China, the Chinese government basically just control the information flow. Like there is limited freedom in China. Well, one of the examples of that will be this list. This is a list on Wikipedia which showed some of the websites that are blocked in China. You can see, well, there are like Google's, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all these like websites that you think is like common and like you need them. Well, Chinese people, they can like access this, and like they have limited like information flow, as I've said before, like due to like the Chinese government. And another big event will be the June 4th vigil in Hong Kong, which marked like the big difference, because like the June 4th vigil is like an annual event in Hong Kong, and like it's like a really big event because according to South China Morning Post, there are at least like thousands of people gathering in Hong Kong like annually, and like the number has increased like drastically like over like the years, and in particular the recent years. And it is a big event in Hong Kong. Well, people basically, they will like fight for the Chinese citizen. They will speak for them because they know like in China they don't have this kind of freedom. So basically what like Hong Kong people will do in this video, they will, well, fight for human rights in China. They will urge the Chinese government to apologize for like the mistakes they have made. In particular, the June 4th incident, which I can't talk any further due to like time issues, but it is like a really sensitive topic between China and like Hong Kong, and it is like a really like big historical like fact that is hidden from the Chinese government. But like due to the freedom we have in Hong Kong, we can just like speak it out loud, and like the Chinese government can't do anything about it. But like in China, when anyone try to like talk about June 4th, they will get arrested really easily, and their family will be like affected too. And that's like the big difference between Hong Kong and mainland China. Well, to conclude, today I've talked about the political and cultural aspect of the differences between Hong Kong and mainland China. Now that you have like a better understanding of these two places, I hope you won't like stereotype these two places based on like taboo or like movies, or even worse, that Jackie Chan in Rush Hours, because you know better than that now. Thank you.
All right, Tran, what did you think?
I think her presentation is pretty clear about the differences of mainland China and Hong Kong. There's only one thing that I can see her a little nervous, so she forget some of her notes, and she had to read it from her card a little. And when she introduced about why British, she kind of read off the presentation, so the rest is good. Only that is a problem.
All right. Well, Harriet, I like the visual as your attention device. I thought that worked pretty well at pulling the audience in. You've got a pretty clear statement of what your goal is. I like the personal justification and the cultural justification for talking about the subject. I thought you did a nice job developing that. You went through the historical context pretty quickly, and I thought that maybe the material about British influence was a little bit sketchy. But the idea about the main political difference being the issue of the kinds of freedoms that people have that needed, I think, a little bit more development, and that you have a large population that's grown up or lived their entire existence in a culture that allows X, Y, and Z kinds of things to happen. You need to explain how the changeover was going to be problematic if it had gone to the rule, the single rule for the one country instead of the two systems. And the idea of the two systems rule, that was negotiated or it had to be figured out. I think we could use a little bit more explanation on that. I'm still a little unclear on that last section when you're talking about the June 4th vigil, if the June 4th vigil started prior to the changeover, and if the June 4th vigil is something that continues to happen, but you can get arrested for talking about it. I'm not quite sure where this freedom thing comes into play. That's a little bit confusing. It was a little bit easier when you were talking about all of the internet access sites that are blocked. I assume those are blocked in China, but not in Hong Kong. That's my assumption, and I think that needed to be a little bit clearer also. You did a good job planning your visuals and integrating them into the speech. I thought that worked pretty well. Most of the time they explained things. It was a little hard to see all of the items on the blocked list. I mean, you made reference to a few of them, but obviously it was a rather lengthy list. But I could see Google Docs at the top. I'm sitting in the back. I don't know what everybody else could see, but it seemed a little small. That might have been one of those places where maybe focusing in and making the image a little bit larger would have been helpful. On the delivery issues, there are a couple of things that I want to mention. I didn't think that you were overly dependent on the script. I did think it was a little strange that you were off to the side the whole time. You sometimes practically sat on the table, you're leaning back against it, and you want to be, I think, a little bit more engaged in the presentation. And probably you could use a little energy in your voice, but structurally I thought it was good. You could use a little bit more citation of your sources for the problems about the June 4th vigil, for instance. It just seems like it needs a little more explanation and a little bit more backup there. All right, thank you.